This is my review of the Avengers Forever comic book. It's a graphic novel that collects issues 1 through 12 of this particular story. I wanted to read some of the best Avengers comic book stories, and I was listening to an episode of the Geek History Lesson podcast. I'll leave a link to the particular episode that I heard where they had recommended this story as one of the best Avengers stories they've ever read. Now, let me give you a quick synopsis of Avengers Forever so you can have an idea of what I'm talking about. Through the years, the Avengers have always found the way to reach victory, no matter the odds, no matter the sacrifice. But now, Earth's mightiest heroes face a different kind of menace, a menace so great it has made allies out of sworn enemies. This seemingly unconquerable enemy is the future. 7 time-lost Avengers, plucked from the past, present, and future, must protect their longtime ally, Rick Jones, from death at the hands of Immortus, the Master of Time. To find out why Rick has been targeted for elimination, the Avengers must join forces with Kang, the Conqueror, one of the team's deadliest, most implacable foes, a cosmic battle that stretches from the Old West to the end of time. As they do so, they discover they're fighting not just for one life, but for the very destiny of mankind against greater foes than they could possibly imagine. So that's the gist of the story here, okay? Now, I will have spoilers in this review, so if you're planning to read it, go read it first. I'm going to leave an affiliate link so you can check it out. Great comic book. You could buy the book itself. I like to read the book itself because just to give my eyes a break from looking at screens. But if you want to get it on your tablet, on your phone, you can do so by using it through the Kindle app. And it'll go right to your phone. Or if you have the Comixology app, you can buy it that way too. All right, let's get into the review here. This is a big action comic book. This is the equivalent of an event film spanning multiple timelines, characters old and new, and real big action sequences. I loved the time travel aspects, traveling into the future, the Old West, the 1950s, investigating Immortus machinations to undo history and create new timelines. When time travel is involved in a TV show or a movie, just in general, I'm in. Kang versus Immortus, which is one of the highlights for me. Or should I say, young Kang versus older Kang. I like this. Let me explain. The younger Kang dislikes his future self. Meanwhile, Immortus feels he knows best for himself and the future existence of humanity. Kang fights his future self and wants to prevent becoming Immortus. And this book is essentially their back and forth, their story. Now, just to kind of explain what I just said, Immortus is Kang in the future. In this story, they're fighting each other. The present day Kang the Conqueror fighting his future self, Immortus. They're basically the two villains of the book. I didn't care for all the explanation and minutia when I initially read this. But now, going back for this review, going back through the comic book, it really shines. The details regarding how Immortus has been involved throughout the Avengers' whole history, it was fascinating. How he has had his hands in the Scarlet Witch and Vision's relationship, the Fantastic Four's dealings with the android Human Torch, the Kree-Shi'ar War. That's only to name a few of the events. So Immortus has been manipulating the Avengers for ages. I'm talking about stories that took place years and years ago. They bring up in this book how he had his hand in it and how he influenced things. It's super cool. It really is very cool. Now, the time-plucked Avengers that you heard in the description, many of the characters had their own story coming into the team. Captain America had issues regarding his faith in the U.S. government, whether he wanted to continue even being Captain America. This is where he was at when he joined the team from the time that he was taken from to come into this future time to go ahead and fight this fight. You have Songbird, who she was a former foe of the Avengers, a former villain to the Avengers, but in the future, she's a member of the Avengers, and she's taken from the future to be part of this team. Yellow Jackets company amongst Wasp and Giant Man, and they're each from different times. Wasp and Giant Man, they're together from the same time. Yellow Jacket is from an earlier time, and the crazy thing is Yellow Jacket and Giant Man are the same person. They're both Hank Pym, but I don't think Yellow Jacket throughout the book realizes this, which is really, really wild. And also another thing was like Captain Marvel. There was a male Captain Marvel from the future in this, and he and Songbird had a romantic relationship that Songbird didn't seem to recall. So there was a lot of cool things in this book. But another highlight was Yellow Jacket as a whole. His interactions with the others was the most interesting. His polarizing nature and flip-flopping between being good and evil was really great. Running into other characters from other eras, other dimensions. They run into an older Black Panther with a salt and pepper beard. They run into a pregnant moon dragon. You see a Rick Jones from the future who has a beard and he's missing a hand. My favorite was a super deep cut of Kid Colt, who is not a superhero or anything like that. He's just a character from the Old West Marvel comics. And the time that they published comic books with this particular character was in the 40s, and he was brought back in this book, which I thought that was really cool. Another thing that I really enjoyed was the Avenger armies. So in multiple panels, the Avengers were fighting off hordes of enemies. And the character designs of these futuristic Avenger armies were a combination of knights in armor with flares of Iron Man's armor or Thor's costume or some variation of Captain America's shield. So there were these huge armies of these Avengers. In the future, one of the plot points that they talk about in the book, that there is a group like humanity, they just go into the stars, but they're still kind of warlike, and the Avengers becomes like this huge army of people, and they're all like honoring the original Avengers by having different parts of their costumes on these Avenger army soldiers. And like I said, the designs I enjoyed. The Skrulls, they seem to have been impersonating major historical figures for years, but the Space Phantoms were doing the same. Now, who are the Space Phantoms? The Phantoms are a random species from other planets held prisoner in limbo, and this is where Immortus has his base of operations. And they're forced into servitude of Immortus. I know that this character for some time from reading this book, this is how I found this out, he was just one guy, one Space Phantom, but to find out that there's like a ton of them, and they are very similar to the Skrulls, where they take shapes of people, of different heroes and their abilities and everything. It's wild. So the book presents Rick Jones as being the main character. Rick Jones is an old character from the Hulk comics, and but it didn't feel like it. Like I mentioned before, this was Kang and Immortus' book, and like I said, their interaction was what I found the most interesting. And I love that they went into Kang's backstory, which is the equivalent of the man who has everything and is looking for adventure, but not in a noble way. This man conquers planets, kills and enslaves its people, brings them into his own army. So this guy is not a good guy, but he does become an ally of the Avengers as they all go up against Immortus in this book. Also, Rick Jones and his Destiny power, his Destiny Force power, I didn't understand it 100%, but he was like he was the linchpin, I think it's called. He was like the main guy everybody wanted to go after, because he's the one that could turn the tide in terms of winning the fight against Immortus and his time-traveling manipulation of the history of the Earth, of the history of humans. This was a great book. It's recommended and it's a decent read. I discovered this story through, once again, listening to the Geek History Lesson podcast. I recommend their podcast if you are a comic book fan. And I will leave a link for this book, once again, in the show notes so you can check it out for yourself. Avengers Forever, the graphic novel.